Les Miserables, Chapter 9, Trapped. I was back at 6 o'clock with the money. Cosette was safe at home. Fabantou greeted me wearing my overcoat and smiling meekly. I put 80 francs on the table. For your rent and other immediate needs, Monsieur Fabantou, I said. We will talk about what else you need. May God reward you, most generous sir, said Fabantou. He snatched the money off the table. I sat down. How is the hurt child? I asked. Not well, replied Fabantou. She's in great pain. Her sister took her to the hospital. Madame Fabantou seems much better, I said, looking her way. She was standing at the door with her arms crossed. She looked as if she would not let me leave if I wanted to. Oh, she's very sick, said Fabantou, but you'd never know it. She's so brave. She's more than a woman. She's an ox. Madame Fabantou was pleased by her husband's words. You always say the nicest things to me, Monsieur Jondrette. She smiled a shy smile. Jondrette, I said. I thought your name was Fabantou. Oh, it's both, said Fabantou quickly. Jondrette is my stage name. I was beginning to see that things were not as they seemed. Then I noticed 2 men in the shadows. Who are those men? I asked. Pay no attention to them, said Fabantou. They're just neighbors. As I was about to say, my most noble patron, continued Fabantou, I have a picture for sale. There was a sound at the door. 2 more men came into the room. They sat on the bed. The men's faces were covered in soot. Don't worry about them, said Fabantou. They're furnace men. They have dirty faces because they do dirty work. As I was saying, I want to show you a valuable picture. Fabantou turned around a picture that had been facing the wall. Light from the candles shone on it. What on earth is it? I asked. The men were watching me. I was uneasy. This is a masterpiece, my dear sir, replied Fabantou. I cherish this picture as much as my own daughter's, but sad to say I am forced to sell it. What do you think it's worth? It's an old inside, I said. It's worth about 3 francs. The paint was chipped and peeling, but I knew the sign. I could still make out the Sergeant of Waterloo in faint letters. Underneath the letters was a picture of a soldier carrying another soldier on his back. It was hard to believe the man before me could be the innkeeper, the man called Thénardier. I will accept 1,000 francs for this sign, he said. I was caught in a trap. Escape wouldn't be easy. I won't accept 1 franc less. I hope you have your wallet on you. The man grinned wickedly. I rose from my chair and stood with my back to the wall. I looked around the room. Thénardier stood near the window with 2 of the 4 men. His wife stood near the door with the other 2. The trap was a tight one. Suddenly, Thénardier jumped at me. His eyes were blazing with anger. His fists were clenched. Don't you know me? He screamed. Don't you recognize me? No, I replied calmly. Just then the door swung open. 3 more men entered, wearing black masks. One carried a heavy stick. The other had a butcher's axe. Is everything ready? Thénardier asked them. Yes, said one of the men. Thénardier came close, then thrust his face into mine. Don't you recognize me? My name isn't Fabantou or Jondrette. My name is Thénardier. Recognize me now? No more than before, I replied. My eyes gave nothing away. I needed to buy time. Your goose is cooked, my noble patron. Thénardier spat out the words. You're spitted and roasted, my fine bird. He started to pace the room. "You don't know me, eh?" he said. "It wasn't you who came to my inn in Montfermeil 10 years ago and took Fantine's brat from me? So you don't know me? Well, I know you, all right. I knew you the minute you shoved your noble face inside my door," he raged. "You'll not get away from me, my generous millionaire." "It isn't smart to take a man's servant," he continued. "I'll teach you not to threaten me with a heavy stick. You were the strong one that day. Today it's my turn. I hold the cards now, and you're done for, my beauty." Thénardier stopped. He was out of breath. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said. "I'm a poor man. I don't know you. You're confusing me with someone else." "Have you nothing to say before we go to work on you?" he replied. I said nothing. What was the point? The big man with the axe took his mask off. "If there's any chopping to be done, I'm your man," he said. Thénardier shouted at the man for showing his face. In that instant, I ran for the window. I was nearly out, but 3 men lunged at me. 6 hands pulled me back inside. I knocked down 2 of the men, but 2 more took their place. I was buried under a flood of fists. "Don't hurt him," shouted Thénardier. "I want to talk to this gentleman." I was shoved into a chair. "I find it strange," began Thénardier. "You haven't shouted for help once, not even with the window open. I wonder, are you as afraid of calling down the law as we are?" I said nothing. "We can help each other," continued Thénardier. "I'm not a bloodsucker. All I want is 200,000 francs. You don't have it with you, but you can write your daughter for it." He turned to get paper and pen. I lunged for the fireplace and grabbed the red-hot poker. I faced the room. "You're a poor lot," I cried. "My own life is not worth much. You can do what you want with me. Look!" I pulled up my left sleeve. I pressed the poker to my bare skin. There was a hiss of burning flesh. "Poor fools," I said. "I don't fear you." I threw the poker through the open window. "Do what you like with me," I said. "Slit his throat," cried one man. Thénardier liked the idea. He picked up a knife from the table and started towards me.